Hi parents, it's Kristen Lascola, the junior high pastor here at North Coast Church in Fallbrook, and this is your weekend recap. So on Sunday we started a new series centering around Jesus and those closest to him, his disciples, and kind of the whole idea behind this series that we're going to be in for the next few weeks is that you can tell the most about a person when they hang out with the people that are closest to them. You catch a different glimpse of them than when they're with a crowd of people. And so, although Jesus was always really him, we see a different level of interaction when he's with the guys that he did life with, his disciples. And so, we started out in Matthew 14. It was verses 22 through 33, and it was the story of Jesus walking on the water. And it's a story that your kids, if they've grown up in church, probably have heard 1,000 times or have heard referenced 1,000 times in some way. But we kind of are trying to go beyond, all right, we all know the facts of the story, but what do those facts mean? And how do we go underneath the surface and start to kind of look at the interaction between Jesus and other people, and what does that tell us about Jesus' character, the way that he related to them, the way that he treated them, the way that he talked to them, the way that he maybe reprimanded them or talked to them, and the things he asked of them, looking at more of the human side of him and his interactions with them. So we kind of looked at, obviously this story centers around Peter and him getting really bold and walking on the water with Jesus. And then we all know he started to sink, and then Jesus reached out his hand and saves Peter. But we looked at Jesus's patient attitude towards Peter, and that Peter had so much faith. He was so bold. He knew that even in the midst of a storm, it's safer to be with Jesus than in the safety of a boat. And we see this huge burst of his faith, yet at the same time, just seconds later, we see his failure and his humanness and his doubt. But the word that keeps popping up in this passage is the word immediately. Immediately, Jesus reaches out his hand and saves Peter. When Jesus first approaches the boat on the water, they were all afraid. They thought he was a ghost. And the Bible says immediately he told them, you don't need to be afraid. It's me. And so we're seeing this idea over and over again that in the midst of a storm, Jesus is kind of the only place to go. And that as long as we keep our eyes fixed on him and we keep moving towards him in faith, we float. We can do the impossible. We can rise above maybe the chaos that's going around us. But when our eyes get distracted and we start to focus on the storm and the waves and the wind and the chaos, and we get overwhelmed, that is when we start to sink. And so kind of the idea pulling away from this is just Jesus' love and patience towards Peter, and also in the midst of a storm, where do we go to? Where do we keep our eyes and our focus fixed? Who are we moving towards? And just highlighting Jesus' character of, man, like even in Peter's doubt and failure, Jesus immediately reaches out his hand and saves him, and teaches him, hey, what happened out there, and still gives him that rebuke, but in love, and hopefully to move forward in his relationship with Peter. So we're going to be discussing that also on Tuesday night at Chaos, and the kids are going to get to go a little bit more in depth with that. So thanks for watching, and hope this helps you connect with your student, and we'll see you next week.